The market has corrected, and the stocks at Ohio State are on the rise. Let's all get rich, folks. That's Bill Landis, Jeremy Birmingham. I am Austin Ward. It is Wednesday. It's the Podcast Daily, and it's time to reap the rewards of all those great, brilliant investments that we made last Wednesday because we knew that the bounce back was coming.
I don't remember any investments that were made last week.
Well, we talked about the depressed stocks, but now offensive line, defensive line, running game.
There's a lot there.
And we all had so much confidence. Like, that's why.
We all said the running game was going to be fine.
Yeah.
And it was.
And we're rich now.
Yeah.
But let's maybe drill down on some individuals that could be pretty, I don't know, worth watching in the next 2 weeks.
No one's allowed to say Carson Hingley, okay?
Why?
Because it's too easy, and
I'll
everyone's going to
just
say
take my mic off and you guys have a good show.
He's out of here.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to say it.
He's going to buy
There are two very obvious ones, I think. Although maybe there's not much left because you have all the Caden McDonald stock.
Yeah, I own it all, so you can't have any. But
Okay.
I don't know, maybe I could give some out as like a Christmas gift. But the next 2 weeks, Purdue and Northwestern, because as much as Ryan Day and Ohio State want to pump up the opponent, and I think that they should, I think there's some benefit to the way that they're talking about an opponent in a way that they don't usually when they just say, hey, it's all about Ohio State, it's all about execution, nothing else matters but us. They're going to have opportunities to play more people in the next two games. And the realization did hit me the other day. It was like, there's still 4 weeks of the regular season, potential Big Ten championship, and then multiple games maybe in the playoff. Like, there's still a long way to go. So there could still be people that emerge in November, in December, that haven't really performed at a high level yet.
Definitely. I actually think the Penn State game was a little telling in that regard. Can I get some Brandon Inniss?
Take it.
What do you
want to buy some BI?
Yeah, I wanted to ask specifically about that play where they subbed out all the receivers and then put the three.
Inniss said after the game that it had been a long drive and all the receivers just needed a blow. But I'm like,
that wasn't.
I don't think that's.
I don't think that's true.
That's not.
Yeah, I think they were trying to lull Penn State into a false sense of security and then watch Brandon Inniss run by everybody. And he got another key third down conversion, right?
On the last field goal drive.
Yeah. And I guess I've never sensed throughout the year that they didn't trust Brandon Inniss, but I felt like this was putting it on full display to dial up a touchdown play for him to go to him again on a crucial third down in a matchup game that was very much in the balance. I just think that is how you start to see a player build some momentum. And we've seen young receivers do it before around this time of year. I'm not predicting he's going to go block a punt against Michigan or whatever, but I think that now Brandon Inniss has shown this coaching staff that he can be definitely counted on when sort of the money is down, if they feel like they need to put him out there, if they feel like they want to do more stuff with four receivers on the field, whatever that might be. And I thought maybe the most tangible impact he might have on this team would have come via special teams this year. And as teams, I think, have gone out of the way to make sure he doesn't return punts, and also they're mixing in some different guys in the return game as well, that now maybe that best chance would be on offense. As a receiver, potentially as a ball carrier, I think that the package for Brandon Inniss will continue to expand, I guess, from here moving forward.
It'd be wild if he did block a punt against Michigan. That would be a pretty significant change.
He could. I don't think he plays on that special teams unit, so maybe that's another change up they'll throw.
Do they have a punt block unit? Does that even exist? I don't know.
I think that they're so concerned about making sure they don't get beat by a fake punt at times that they don't have any interest. Because, like, if you just get the ball to the offense, generally speaking,
I get
it's
it.
Okay.
But all right, I'll not talk
Penn
about
State
special
punting
teams.
from the 45, and Ohio State's out there like in a safe.
Yeah,
like they are not going to get beat by a fake punt. There's a lot of conversation about Caleb Downs and how good he is, right?
I don't think you can buy Caleb Downs.
Yeah,
there's not nearly enough conversation about Cody Simon. I was having a conversation.
What is the deal with this fly?
I had a chat with a high school junior who's coming to visit this weekend. He's from Florida. He's a linebacker. And
who could it be?
His name's Caden Henderson.
Oh, okay. Well, you were like, it was like you were trying to be secret.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need.
But
to
you gave all his details away.
You're allowed to talk to the
players.
But
I don't need. I don't like to put conversations out there that are not publicized anywhere. But
you gave all his details away.
Well, now.
Anyway, what you guys talk about?
I asked him, obviously, he said like he's really interested in getting to know James Laurinaitis and watching because he's been watching the linebackers. And I said, what do you think? And his response was, man, Cody Simon is a dog. And I'm like, it's the first time a recruit has brought up Cody Simon's name instead of Sonny Styles or instead of just talking about what James Laurinaitis did. Like, he's resonating to people. And you see game after game him making plays where, we've got the 4th down stop against Michigan State, the big play against Nebraska this weekend against Penn State. Just he's become so important to this Ohio State defense. And it's bringing along other guys. Like you can see the market improvement in Sonny Styles over the last few weeks. Just more that Cody gets to teach. And the luxury that Ohio State has that I don't think they've had in a long time on defense, if they are completely restructuring this defense or whatever, and Bill, you asked about it on Tuesday, but when you have all these veterans, guys that are smart enough to figure this out, you have not just Jim Knowles and all of his coaches, but Caleb Downs and Cody Simon are 2 complete coaches on the field. And it also helps when those coaches are like really freaking good. Mm-hmm. And Cody Simon's being physical. He's being the guy that they're trusting on the blitzes. Like he's just been so superb in the last few weeks. And I don't think that there's nearly enough conversation about it. And the fact, and this is not a knock on Sonny Styles, but Sonny Styles was a finalist or a semifinalist for the Buckeyes Award.
Well, and it's also not impossible to have a program with 2 semifinalists because Alabama has it, which I don't know why.
Their defense is great.
Their defense is absolutely abysmal.
Sonny Styles gets the nod and stays in the conversation for the Buckeyes Award, and Cody Simon doesn't, is just flat out stupid.
I'm personally offended by that. I think it's terrible. This won't be the last time you hear me complain about the Buckeyes Award this year, because you're right.
I'm not saying he's the best linebacker in America. I'm saying what Cody Simon has done for Ohio State is not getting nearly enough credit because this defense was on the cusp of tilt. And he has almost single-handedly tilted them back in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, and that's why he's wearing the Blocko, which I think that's the award that he would care a lot more about than being a Butkus Award semifinalist or whatever happens with all Big Ten or All American down the road. That's not what Cody Simon is about, which is why he's such a great leader. Berm, I never really, I think, invested in Edric Houston as a true freshman.
That's a good one.
Recently, I've been, talking about the opportunity for him to get more snaps and to play more, especially coming out of the Oregon game. I think that was a major emphasis and a point maybe from the top down, a top-down directive for Ohio State. But I did not, when he was signed, and I know it was a big deal, you've talked about him since his arrival. I didn't know he was going to be a 3 technique. That kind of surprised me.
He, in my mind, was always a 3 technique. One of the holdups about coming to Ohio State was that there was an expectation that eventually he would turn into a 3 tech in this Ohio State defense because he is not their traditional edge rusher as far as length or off-ball quickness. But we said it back in the spring. He was way bigger than I thought he was going to be when he got here. And I think he's pretty much the perfect hybrid for what Larry Johnson wants, a guy who can do inside or outside. He's like Taekwon Lewis.
I think he's Draymond Jones. That Bill took it right out of my mouth there. And if you've got it, it's been a while since they've had that. I think the combination of Tyleik Williams and Ty Hamilton is really great when it comes to stopping the run. But it's perhaps not as significant as turning an Adolphus Washington or a Draymond Jones into a pass rushing terror from that spot. That's always been one of the hallmarks for Larry Johnson's best defensive lines at Ohio State. And I feel like that is just dropped off a little bit. And maybe that's the trade that you make when Ohio State's been like, well, we want these front 4 to stop the run first. And Ty are very good at doing that. But when it comes to getting more pressure, getting to the quarterback, whether that's sacks, whether that's also just tackles for loss or making a quarterback rush a throw, I wonder if that has been the issue. And I think that there's maybe a possibility that Edric Houston can solve that, not just down the road, but maybe by Indiana.
I think he'll be a factor this year, just based on the way that Ryan Day was talking about him. And it's a similar thought process, I think, to what we were thinking about Jason Moore in the offseason. But, Edric Houston probably just had a little more raw talent than Jason Moore had coming out of high school.
Edric Houston's a juice bringer. He is Caden Curry-esque in that way.
Yeah,
he's an energy motor guy on the field. And when you add the natural talent that he has with that energy, and that's when you start to get dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good one. I'm mad I didn't get a chance to do that. Maybe later on in the year we'll scoop up some more Edric Houston. This is similar, I guess, to what I just said about Brandon Inniss. And maybe I'm wrong for believing that Jelani Thurman making that catch against Penn State will do something more for him, because Ryan Day also said that he had 3 drops and 3 receptions on one play. So maybe that
wasn't reflected in the box score.
It was not. I think the fact that he ultimately reeled the ball in should inspire some confidence, but maybe the fact that he bobbled it 3 times before he did might not do so. But we know that, and this is also in, like, Will Kessmerick will be back, so the snap counts, what they were against Penn State, will not be that way once Will comes back. But we know that Chip Kelly likes to do a lot with multiple tight end formations, and I just wonder if that play might set up Jelani for a potentially very important touchdown down the road, or a touchdown or 2 down the road, right? So it's not so much wanting to buy stock in him becoming a more heavily utilized player in the offense on a regular basis, but perhaps in some big moments now. And as like a change up to what Ohio State has done previously in some short yardage stuff or down in the low red zone, maybe Jelani will emerge as a consideration. I don't know that he has been prior to that. So
I don't think he has been.
Yeah, I'll buy some stock in that idea.
The best way for young players to buy into the idea that they have to be more consistent in practice is when they are good in practice, to reward them in the game, right? Because otherwise you're like, what the hell is the point?
Yeah.
And I think that plays into what you're talking about. You have a guy like Jelani, we've heard the same conversation for a year plus, which is he needs to be consistent. So when he has the weeks that are a good week, and obviously he had one to be in that position on Saturday, feed him, let him see the reward. And I think that will certainly end up being a benefit to him at Ohio State. You can't go broke taking a profit, right?
That's what I've heard.
We always give that tip on the Stonk Watch.
And Quinshon Judkins is a blue chip stock. And
this guy's, he's trying to take Caleb Downs. He's trying to take Quinshon Judkins.
I didn't try to take Caleb Downs at all.
Did he? Judges?
I didn't.
Rewind the tape.
I was clearly referencing how good he's been.
It was set up for the Cody Simon.
Then you saw a response. You're like, oh, I got to pivot.
No, absolutely not. You think I had that just whole Cody Simon spiel ready to go?
You want any Emeka Ibuka and Jeremiah Smith while we're...
I don't know that people have noticed in the last 2 weeks, but it's been Quinshon out there first. It's been...
This was actually the first game he started, I think.
I think there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
I think that if Ohio State wants to be its best running offense, its best version of its running offense, as good as TreVeyon Henderson has been this year, as much passion as he's running with, I think it still runs through Quinshon Judkins being that guy. And I watched him run extremely hard against Penn State. I watched him on the Buckeyes' second drive of the game after taking the little option pitch and getting down to the 25-yard line or wherever, the 30-yard line. He got called off the field, and he was not happy about it. And I'm like, oh, yes. Thank you. I want my running backs to be pissed off.
Yeah. He runs quite angry.
And I think that after the Nebraska game where he's got 10 carries for 29 yards and people ragging on the run game.
He had a game-winning touchdown.
I think those guys took it personally last week against Penn State. Obviously, they had help with the offensive line playing, above what everyone thought they would do. But Quinshon and TreVeyon, to a lesser degree, have not provided the consistent, you know what you're going to get out of that dude every game. And I think we're on the verge of seeing that from Quinshon Judkins. And I think that this Saturday will be this early bold P, I guess, but I think it'll be his highest rushing total of the year this week. And I think that he will be the starter moving forward. Now, it means maybe nothing inside of the building, maybe it means nothing outside of the building, but I do think that it was an indicator from Carlos Lachlan that this runs through you.
I do. Purdue, I think earlier this year, gave up 700 rushing yards to Notre Dame. So
is that a lot?
It could be opportunities. Yeah,
it seems like a lot. I like a lot of the things that you said right there, and I was trying to approach this.
Me from taking.
No. I was trying to approach the right way with this stock tip because it might be too simple to just say, "Hey, I'm impressed with TreVeyon Henderson's run and pass blocking, the blitz pickup. Quinshon Judkins using his body with physicality, whether that's helping Will Howard run himself or whether that's giving him time to throw." So I think probably the answer is stock up on Carlos Lachlan, who the timing of that hire, the departure of Tony Alford was not ideal for Ohio State. And it felt like the process was dragging out, that multiple other candidates were involved and they couldn't quite get to contract deals with some or buyouts with others. And they wound up with Carlos Lachlan. And I think Ohio State is very glad that they did, because also what you're talking about in a room like that, you have two high-level performers, very competitive guys in Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, and they're going to want the football. And it is good that they want the football, but it is then that position coach's job to make sure that they are both invested. And I think even when they come to the sideline pounding their chest, they are still supportive of the other. They know that guy can go in and make plays too. I think the way that this has transpired, where it's been like sort of a gradual transition, maybe Quinshon is going to pull ahead and be more of a primary than Travion Henderson, didn't come at the expense of either one.
No, because Travion's a different player. And you saw him against Penn State, the little swing pass out there. Like, there's an opportunity for those guys to be on the field together a whole lot more than they have. And, Carlos Lachlan has done a great job, for sure.
And they both got the football in the 5-minute drill. Like, they were both involved.
I like that. That's a shirt. 5-minute drill.
5-minute drill. It's a new one.
Have you seen an Ohio State running back as eager to pass block as these two are since Zeke Elliott?
Since Zeke, no.
No.
And Travion's block on the Will Howard fumble
was insane.
Was nuts. I wonder if he might start only because that block was so cool.
Well, and then Quinshon
had a great block too, but he didn't deplete his guy. Travion did.
But I think Carlos Lachlan arrived and basically told everyone, hey, you should buy stock in me. Think my career, and I think that I coach the position better than anybody else. And at times, okay, well, let's wait and see how this transpires first. But I think you can clearly see whether that is the way the guys are going to run the football. I don't know how much it comes down to coaching as much as just the mentality that you already have at that position. We talk about that a lot. Like, sometimes it is as simple as getting a handoff and executing, but like the willingness to do all the other parts and the technique that they're using with the blocks. Like, one of the things that we talked about previously with Dallin Hayden was like, why is he not involved? Well, he's not blocking anybody, and it didn't get any better throughout those 2 years that he spent at Ohio State. But I don't know that Travion Henderson, coming from the level of football that he did in Virginia, was like, had he ever even been asked to do that before?
And now coaching malpractice at the high school level.
I'm not saying that he should or that he would, but like, now this guy is he's got to be. I don't watch every game. If there are better blockers at running back than Travion Henderson right now, I would love to see it.
I think what's interesting is that Carlos Lachlan walked into a situation where he had the two best running backs in America, maybe, or at least the best twosome of running backs in America on his team. And then he has two freshmen who, James Peoples, I think there's a lot of expectations for down the road. But if you are of the mindset that we'll see how good he is when he doesn't have Quinshon and Travion, the elevation in their games, the selflessness of their games that I don't think were there in their careers before he got here, should be an encouraging sign about what to expect, no matter who's in that room next year. If it's James Peoples and Sam Williams-Dixon and Isaiah West and Bo Jackson and maybe a third, they're going to have to still probably find someone in the transfer portal. So, like, he doesn't have a complete room yet by any stretch. Like, the room he had at Oregon when he left was better top to bottom than the room he walked into at Ohio State. He just happened to be pretty top heavy in this group. So I think if you're worried that his impact won't last beyond these two first and second round picks in the NFL, like, I think there's reason to be optimistic.
Can I lay down an early bowl P?
You absolutely can.
James Peoples will have a game on Saturday that makes people feel just fine about Carlos Laughlin's ability to develop a young running back.
Love that. Love it. What about your final stonk?
Maybe I'll do Jim Knowles. Give me Jim Knowles. We don't really ever talk about him on a stock watch. I liked what I heard from him on Tuesday about the comfort level that he has with what the defense has done the last 2 weeks. And there was a lot of, clearly, I think, push and pull about best ways to deploy this talent. And even with that happening, Ohio State has still had very good defenses the last 2 years, but I think certainly left something to be desired in the biggest games. And I consider last Saturday to be in line with those biggest games, and I was really encouraged by what I saw with the defense. And even what it put on the field against Nebraska, I thought was really good. So I think through, again, trial and error and too much error probably, that they figured out the right plan moving forward. And I believe that Jim Knowles' defenses now are going to show up much better in those pivotal moments at the end of games against the best teams because they just kind of figured it out. And like,
well, why hire a mad scientist if you don't let him decide what potions to use?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you, right? You gotta let the chef cook the meal, whatever it is. Yeah, like maybe he didn't.
Is there a third metaphor that we can throw in there?
Yeah, something about making your own juice.
Juice maker. Juice maker Knowles.
Why let somebody go pluck the oranges if they're not going to squeeze the juice?
Perfect.
You know,
We did it. I don't know. The guy that we saw talking on Tuesday in Jim Knowles, I just thought like had a different way about him than he has had, even when things were going really well early in his tenure. I just think he is reinvigorated by some of the stuff that he's doing now defensively with his calls and with his structures and schemes and all that stuff. And I think that there's going to be dividends on the field because of that.
I felt that Saturday when we were talking to him during the notebook. Like that was,
yeah.
There have been times where we maybe do too much psychoanalysis of the coaches, although trying to report on what we see and here's what we do. But like that came up in training camp or in September. I was like, did this guy have any coffee today? Like he seems incredibly depressed. Like that was not just because of the dance moves, which we're not buying stock in those. I don't believe.
You know what? I'm not. They're fine. I'm not a good dancer. So.
It's a Philly thing.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't dance in Philly.
I just thought that
Famously.
you could see the light back in Jim Knowles' eyes a little bit. You know, that's how I felt. Like you could just see
a spark.
There's a twinkle.
You know the Willem Dafoe gif where he's like, yes. Like when you were asking him the question on Tuesday about his defense, you could see, I thought of Willem Dafoe. And so stock up on Willem Dafoe.
And the Green Goblin.
Yeah.
Go Birds.
Of all the goblins, the green is my favorite one.
All the goblins.
Carson Hinsman. Just kidding. It's
Are we doing a fourth?
Or
this is your third?
No, this is his seventh. He's naming all of Ohio State's best players.
It's Tegra Shabola, who played, I thought, his best game of the year against Penn State. And there's going to be a lot of discussion on the left side of the offensive line and all the maneuvering and all that stuff. But I thought Tegra Shabola and Josh Fryer both played a much cleaner game, especially after the way that Tegra Shabola looked against Nebraska, where I thought at times it seemed like he didn't know the plays. To go into Penn State.
One specific instance where he clearly
that one time seemed to leave an indelible mark on my brain and on the running back's body because he allowed him to get Olave. So, come on, Derek Carr, what are we doing? Stop doing that to my guy.
Wait, so you say that was his best. Are you concerned at all with this stock that Ohio State's evaluation that he was the only offensive lineman that didn't grade out as a champion?
No, because Ryan Day seemed pretty clear that he was right there on the cusp, and
it sounded like they didn't round up.
Yeah.
Maybe if they would have.
I don't get into the technical schmechnical stuff of offensive line play, but that's a scenario. Again, Ryan Day brought it up on Tuesday. No holds, no false starts. That in itself, in that environment, is pretty good. I think all three of Penn State sacks were on the left side of the line. That's pretty good. Again, Josh Fryer, the passion that he had after the game was something I've not seen from him. Like the entire right side of the offensive line is being kind of ignored because of all the tinkering on the left. But like I thought Tegra and Josh both played a really good game. And so that's encouraging because didn't you expect Ohio State to just throw a ton of help to the offensive line? And then
I was thinking really like a lot of help, like a lot of screens. And they did some stuff schematically, I think, to help, other than the few pure drop back situations where Abdul Carter did win a couple of those matchups. But it wasn't like they were taken out of what they want to be offensively because of offensive line reconfiguration.
Yeah, they
more or less they did their offense.
They did it a different way. It was like the speed option, and they schemed it up differently without having to telegraph, hey, Bennett Christian is now standing right over here by Donovan Jackson. I wonder what's going to happen. They didn't do that.
They did some very creative stuff. Now we're just spinning off. But I think it was the second touchdown drive, like they hit Travion on the little leak out of the backfield where they started him on the left side looking like he was going to be there to help Donnie and ends up motioning to the right and then no one covers him. So it's like you can find ways to mess with the defense. But my point was, right side of the offensive line played pretty well on Saturday. And earlier throughout the year, I think there were some questions about are those guys holding up their end of the bargain next to Donnie and Josh Simmons, and I thought they did. So Gabe Powers.
Was there any Caleb Downs stock available? Is that right? We're able to take Caleb Downs? Oh,
No,
we're
no,
not?
no.
That was off the board.
Sorry, that's gone. Well, that tackle was nuts that he made.
It was.
Jaden Fielding would be my third stock up because it was low. It was available at a discount pretty recently. And there were questions even after Nebraska. It was like, can Ohio State win a close game, rely on their kicker in a close game? Can they make the big kick? We know that has pretty famously cost them in some situations not too long ago in the Ryan Day era. They weren't 56-yarders. They didn't even go like, they weren't the good from 60 kicks either.
The 46 one, the first one
he banged.
Yeah.
That thing was good from 60 at least.
The second one, maybe not quite so much. And so I don't know if the consistency is still at a level where you like feel amazing that no matter where the football is, once you cross the 45, like that Ohio State's definitely going to elect to kick a field goal or that they're going to make it. Like they probably still will be more aggressive in 4th and 5 and less situations, unless it demands that you try a kick. Again, the Oregon game wasn't that long ago where they didn't get the opportunity, and then he missed one against Nebraska. But the one into the student section, the first one he made from 46, was not an easy kick, and especially given the situation and how infrequently Ohio State even uses Jaden Fielding. But he stepped up and he delivered, and maybe that changes the mindset. Maybe it won't. We'll see. But at least if you get into another matchup game, whether that's Indiana, which is just
you can't leave points on the board in matchup games, period.
You have to be able to put those drives away. You shouldn't have to go pass on a 45-yard field goal to go for 4th and 5 in every matchup game. That's not a sustainable way forward. So if Jaden Fielding has now proven that, whether that's to himself or the coaching staff or whatever, the rest of his team, I think Saturday's a pretty significant thing for him.
Yeah, I thought so, especially coming off the week before, and Ryan Day, like maybe not giving the most emphatic answer when asked if they had any belief in him, right, after that game too. So it's weird. Maybe I shouldn't say it, but I will. Like I almost feel better about him like the longer the field goal is,
right?
And maybe like those like between 30 and 40 yards, maybe he gets a little mixed up sometimes, but. He's got a bomb one. He's got a strong leg. Like you guys were at the Peach Bowl right when he hit that one from like 62. Whatever it was, 62 in practice. Right?
Why we thought he might take the last kick in the Peach Bowl, but
not to bring up bad memory. Sorry, but he's got the power.
It's a good memory. It was a great trip.
Was it?
Yeah.
Were we on the same?
Can't wait to be in Atlanta again in January.
Wow.
Late January this time.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds like a bold P.
Just layering them in.
Yeah, that's a Friday show. This, though, that's Wednesday. That's reserved for stocks on the Podcast Daily. Thanks so much for joining us. Still way more coverage coming as we get ready for Ohio State and Purdue Saturday noon in the Horseshoe. This guy's Bill Landis. He's Jeremy Birmingham. I'm Austin Ward. This has been the Podcast Daily. We'll talk to you later.